Welcome to the Mathematics MI channel. Today we are going to solve another interesting integral. Actually very interesting integral from 0 to 1 x times gamma of 1 plus arc sine of x over pi times gamma of 1 minus arc sine of x over pi times arc cosine of x dx. Well, how to begin? Well, first here we have gamma function. So if we take the relation with the gamma function, okay, so try to simplify these gamma functions. So we know the Euler's reflection formula. So we know gamma of A times gamma of 1 minus A is equal to pi over sine of pi A. Okay, now I'm going to plug in, I'm going to take a substitution. So I'm going to plug in A is equal to T over pi. So we can write now gamma of, now A is equal to T over pi times gamma of 1 minus A is equal T over pi is equal to, now this side, pi over sine of pi A is equal to T over pi. Now pi get cancelled and we will have sine of T. Well, now in our question we have arc sine of x, so then again I am going to take a substitution. So I am going to take T is equal to arc sine of x. So we can write now here gamma of T is equal to arc sine of x over pi times here gamma of 1 minus arc sine of x over pi, and this is equal to, now here pi, now sine of t. So here arc sine of x is equal to t, so we know this is equal to x. Well, now here we have gamma of 1 minus arc sine of x over pi, and here also we have same function, but here in this function gamma of 1 plus, but here gamma of arc sine of. So we know this relation about gamma function, gamma of n plus 1 is equal to n times gamma of n. So therefore I am going to multiply by arc sine of x over pi. So both side I am going to multiply by arc sine of x over pi. So arc sine of x over pi times gamma of arc sine of x over pi times gamma of 1 minus arc sine of x over pi is equal to here pi over x times arc sine of x over pi. Well, now according to this formula, we know same as we can write this is equal to gamma of 1 plus arc sine of x over pi times here gamma of 1 minus arc sine of x over pi is equal to, now pi get cancelled and here we have arc sine of x over x. Well, now we take another small function for gamma of this function. So now our integral we can write, I'm going to take I, so I is equal to 0 to 1, here x. Now instead of this part we can use arc sine of x over x times here arc cosine of x dx. Now this x get cancelled and we will have I is equal to integral from 0 to 1 arc sine of x times arc cosine of x dx. Well, now what can we do? Okay, now we know this formula for trigonometry, inverse trigonometric function. Inverse sine of x plus inverse cosine of x is equal to pi over 2. Okay, here I used inverse sine, here arc sine, so we know both are same. So here now we can write 0 to 1, here arc sine of x times, instead of arc cosine of x I am going to take pi over 2 minus arc sine of x dx. Well, now we can simplify, we can multiply. So here pi over 2 integral from 0 to 1 arc sine of x dx, then minus integral from 0 to 1 arc sine of x square dx. Well, then I am going to take this integral I1 and this integral I2. Well, now I am going to evaluate I1. So we know I1 is equal to pi over 2 0 to 1 arc sine of x dx. We know we can integrate by parts, so pi over 2 here x times arc sine of x from 0 to 1, then minus integral from 0 to 1. Now rewrite x, then derivative of arc sine we know square root of 1 minus x square dx. Now we know inner function is in the denominator, inner function is 1 minus x square without square root sign, and derivative of inner function we know minus 2 times x. So I am going to create minus 2 times x in the numerator, so here plus and here 1 over 2. Okay, then we can simplify, here pi over 2, and here if we plug in upper limit and lower limit, upper boundaries and lower boundaries, we know here we have pi over 2 arc sine of 1 pi over 2. Here we know now this integral very famous, and we know this is equal to the square root of 1 minus x square from 0 to 1. Okay, now if we simplify this, we will have pi over 2 minus 1, and this is equal to pi square over 4 minus pi over 2. Okay, this is the I1. Well, then we are going to evaluate I2. So we know I2 is equal to, now I2 is equal to integral from 0 to 1 arc sine of x square dx. Well, now we can again integrate by using integration by parts method. So here integral from 0 to 1 okay, arc sine of x square d by dx, and here we know x dx. Then next step we can write x times arc sine of x square from 0 to 1 minus integral from 0 to 1. Now rewrite x, then derivative of arc sine x square, we know 2 times arc sine of x over, now according to chain rule, derivative of arc sine of x, we know 1 minus x square here dx. Okay, then here if we plug in values, we know here this is equal to 5 square over 4. Then here 2 is a constant, so we can write outside of the integral sign, and here we have 0 to 1 x times arc sine of x over 1 minus square root of 1 minus x square dx. Well, now to evaluate this integral, I am going to use a substitution. So if we take x is equal to sine of theta, then dx is equal to cosine of theta d theta. Then we can plug in here 5 square over 4, here minus 2. Now limits are change, so 0 to pi over 2. Now x, we know sine of theta, arc sine of x, we know here we have theta times sine of theta d theta cosine of theta d theta cosine of theta d theta over 1 minus sine square, 1 minus sine square cosine square, square root cosine, we know cosine of theta. Then cosine of theta get cancelled, and here we have 5 square over 4 minus 2 times integral from 0 to pi over 2. Now theta times sine of theta, again we can take integration by parts method. So here theta d by d theta minus integration of sine of theta, we know minus cosine of theta d theta. Then 5 square over 4, here minus, so we can write plus sign. So here plus 2 times theta cosine of theta 0 to pi over 2 minus 2 times 0 to pi over 2 cosine of theta d theta. Now we can simplify this easily. So here finally we will have 5 square over 4 minus 2. Okay, this is the I2. Now we know I'm going to write here I is equal to I1 minus I2. So I1 we know 5 square over 4 minus pi over 2 minus I2 is equal to 5 square over 4 plus 2. Now 5 square over 4 get cancelled, and here 2 minus pi over 2. Okay, this is the answer. If you like this video, please subscribe this channel. Thank you for watching.